The ship was small and gray. It looked like nothing special. But when it landed on Valor 9, every alien on the station stopped what they were doing. They had heard stories about the creatures inside. They had heard about the death world called Earth, and now one of its people had come to visit. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. A figure stepped out into the bright lights of the docking bay. He was not tall. He was not covered in armor or scales. He had no claws, no fangs, and no extra limbs. He looked soft, weak, easy to kill. His name was Conte. He was a lieutenant in Earth's new space program. He carried a simple bag over his shoulder and wore a worn leather jacket that had seen better days. His black hair was a little messy, and his dark eyes looked around the station with calm interest. He smiled at the aliens who stared at him. Most of them quickly looked away. Commander Orex watched from above, standing on a platform that gave him a view of the entire docking bay. Orex was a pallid, one of the tall, pale beings who controlled this part of space. He had 3 sets of eyes, and all 6 of them were fixed on the human below. Orex did not like what he saw, not because the human looked dangerous, but because he did not. The Palladids had ruled this station for over 300 years. They were proud of their strength and their intelligence. When they heard that a new species had been discovered, a species from a world so deadly that most creatures died before reaching adulthood, they expected monsters. They expected violence. They expected something they could understand. Instead, they got Kang Tae, a man who smiled too much and spoke too softly. Orex turned to his assistant, a younger pallid named Bora. She was small for their kind, with curious eyes and a habit of asking too many questions. "What do we know about this one?" Orex asked. Bora pulled up a screen of information. "His name is Kang Tae. He's 32 years old by Earth measurements. He served in something called the military for 8 years before joining their space program. His records show he is trained in combat, survival, and something called wilderness rescue." Wilderness rescue? It seems humans sometimes get lost in dangerous parts of their planet. Other humans go in to save them. Orex found this strange. They go into danger to save others? That seems inefficient. They also have a saying, Bora added, reading from her screen. "No one left behind." Orex said nothing. He watched the human walk calmly through the docking bay, nodding politely at every alien he passed. Some of them were twice his size. Some had natural weapons that could cut through metal. The human did not seem to care. Over the next few days, Tae was given a small room in the lower section of the station. It was cold and far from the main areas. The message was clear. He was not welcome here. He was being watched. He was expected to fail, but Tae did not complain. He unpacked his few belongings, set up a small photo of his family on the desk, and began exploring the station. He asked questions about everything. How did the air recyclers work? What did people eat here? Were there any good places to exercise? His questions were simple, and his manner was friendly. This made the other aliens nervous. A creature from a death world should be aggressive. It should fight for territory, demand respect, show its teeth. That was how nature worked. The strong survived by proving their strength. But this human did none of those things. He waited in lines. He said please and thank you. He helped a small insect-like trader carry heavy boxes without being asked. "There is something wrong with him," one alien whispered to another. "Perhaps he is damaged," the other replied. "Defective." Tae heard them. His translator was better than they realized. But he said nothing. He simply smiled and kept walking. Commander Orex grew more frustrated with each passing day. The human was supposed to be scared. He was supposed to realize that Earth was nothing compared to the greater galaxy. Instead, Tae seemed perfectly comfortable. He ate the strange food without complaint. He slept in the cold room without asking for better conditions. He treated every alien, no matter how rude, with the same calm politeness. One night, Orex called a meeting with his senior officers. "The human is mocking us," he said, his voice sharp with anger. "How so, Commander?" One officer asked. "By pretending to be harmless, by acting like he belongs here. His people come from a world of death and suffering. They should be savage, brutal. Instead, he walks around like he owns the station." Bora spoke up carefully. "Perhaps, Commander, the humans are not what we expected." Orex turned his 6 eyes toward her. "Then we will remind him what the galaxy truly is. We will show him the creatures that make even the strongest species run in fear. We will see how calm he is then." The order was given. In 2 days, there would be a special assembly. Every species on the station would gather in the central observation hall. They would watch footage of the deadliest creatures in known space. And the human would finally understand that he was nothing. Far below, in his cold little room, Tay looked at the photo of his family. His grandmother Yuna, his sister Hana, his parents. All of them smiling on a beach back home. He missed them. But he also knew why he was here. Humanity was new to the stars. They needed friends. They needed to prove themselves. And Tay had learned long ago that the best way to earn respect was not through fighting. It was through patience. He turned off the light and went to sleep. Whatever came next, he would be ready. The central observation hall was the largest room on Bora 9. Its ceiling stretched so high that clouds sometimes formed near the top. The walls were made of special glass that could show images larger than buildings. On this day, the hall was filled with hundreds of aliens from dozens of different species. They had all come to watch the same thing. They had come to watch the human break. Kang. Tay walked into the hall and felt every eye turned toward him. He was used to this by now. 2 weeks on the station had taught him that aliens love to stare. He did not mind. Back on Earth, he had worked as a wilderness rescue officer in the mountains. He had spent days alone in forests where bears and wolves hunted. Being watched by curious aliens was nothing compared to that. He found a seat near the middle of the hall and sat down. The aliens around him moved away, leaving empty seats on all sides. Tay pretended not to notice. He folded his hands in his lap and waited. Commander Orex stood on a raised platform at the front of the hall. His pale skin seemed to glow under the bright lights. He raised one long arm and the room fell silent. "Today," Orex announced, "we gathered to remind ourselves of the dangers that exist in our galaxy. We have all heard stories. We have all lost friends and family to the creatures that hunt in the dark spaces between stars. But stories are not enough. We must see. We must remember. We must never forget what waits for us if we grow weak." The lights dimmed. The massive walls flickered to life. The first creature appeared. It was called the Vraxian Moor. The image showed a beast the size of a small shuttle, covered in black scales that looked like plates of armor. It had 6 legs, each ending in claws that could tear through metal. Its mouth was filled with rows of teeth that never stopped growing. The footage showed it attacking a mining colony. Workers ran and screamed. The mauler caught them one by one. Around Tay, aliens gasped and whispered in fear. Some covered their eyes. Others held onto each other. Tay leaned forward slightly. He studied the creature's movements, the way it ran, the way it attacked. "Interesting armor plating," he said quietly to himself. "Moves like a rhino." The pallid sitting closest to him heard this and stared in confusion. What was a rhino? The second creature appeared. The Crimson Stalker? It came from the acid swamps of a distant world. The footage showed a long, snake-like body covered in red scales. It moved through the toxic water without making a sound. Its eyes glowed in the darkness. 3 separate expeditions had tried to colonize that world. None of them survived. The aliens in the hall grew more afraid. The Crimson Stalker was known throughout the galaxy. Parents told their children stories about it to keep them from misbehaving. Tay nodded slowly. "Looks like a crocodile mixed with an eel," he murmured. "Probably ambush predator. Uses the environment to hide." More aliens heard him now. They exchanged worried glances. Why was the human not afraid? Then came the final footage. The room grew completely silent. Even Orex seemed nervous. The walls showed a world covered in shadow. A world that had been marked as forbidden by every known species. A world where something lived that had no name in most languages. The Pallets called it the Endless Hunger. The footage was old and damaged. It showed a research team trying to study the creature. They had weapons. They had armor. They had ships waiting to rescue them. None of it mattered. The Endless Hunger came out of the darkness like a living nightmare. It was massive, at least 3 times the size of the Vraxian Mauler. Its body seemed to absorb light. Its roar shook the cameras so hard that the footage became blurry. In less than 30 seconds, the entire research team was gone. The footage ended with one final image of the creature's face. Eyes that held no mercy. A mouth that never stopped opening. The lights in the hall came back on slowly. Aliens were crying. Some were shaking. A few had left during the footage, unable to watch anymore. Commander Orex stepped forward. His 6 eyes found Tay in the crowd. "Now you understand," Orex said, his voice echoing through the silent hall. "Now you see what exists beyond your little world. These creatures, or why species like yours should stay home. You are not ready for the galaxy. You are not strong enough. You are not—" Tay laughed. It was not a loud laugh. It was soft, almost gentle. But in the silence of the hall, everyone heard it. Orex stopped speaking. His pale face twisted with anger. "You find this amusing, human?" Tay stood up slowly. He stretched his arms like someone who had been sitting through a boring movie. Every alien in the hall was watching him now. "No disrespect intended, Commander," Tay said calmly. "I understand what you were trying to do. You wanted to show me the monsters of your galaxy. You wanted me to be afraid." He paused, looking at the now dark walls where the footage had played. But that last one, the Endless Hunger. He shook his head, a small smile on his face. "It reminded me of something from home." The hall erupted in confused whispers. Something from home? What could possibly compare to the Endless Hunger? Orex stepped closer, his 6 eyes narrowing. "You claim your world has creatures like that?" Tay met his gaze without flinching. "Commander, my world has things that make your Endless Hunger look like a house pet." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. Every alien in the hall tensed, expecting a weapon. Instead, Tay simply pressed a button. A hologram appeared in the air above his hand. It showed a creature with orange and black stripes, golden eyes, and teeth designed for killing. "This," Tay said, "is called a tiger. And if you think your monsters are scary, wait until I tell you what this one can do." The hologram of the tiger floated in the air, slowly rotating so everyone in the hall could see it. The creature looked almost beautiful. Orange fur with black stripes. A powerful body built for hunting. Eyes that seemed to look right through you. Commander Orex studied the image. He was not impressed. "This creature is smaller than the Endless Hunger. Much smaller." Tay nodded. "You are right. A tiger is about 3 meters long and weighs maybe 300 kilograms. Compared to your monster, it is tiny. Then why show us this?" Tay smiled. It was the kind of smile that made several aliens in the room feel cold. "Because size is not everything, Commander. Let me tell you about tigers." He walked closer to the hologram, pointing at different parts of the creature as he spoke. Tigers are what we call apex predators. They sit at the top of the food chain. Nothing hunts them. They hunt everything else. Many creatures hunt, Orex said dismissively. True, but tigers are special. They do not just hunt for food. They remember. They learn. They hold grudges. Tay paused to let that sink in. There are stories from my world about tigers that were injured by humans. Shot, but not killed. These tigers did not run away. They did not hide. They came back. They hunted the humans who hurt them. Not just the shooter. The shooter's family. The shooter's village. One tiger killed over 400 people because humans had taken its territory. The hall was silent now. The aliens who had thought the tiger looked weak were not so sure anymore. Your endless hunger, Tay continued. Hunts in packs, yes? It uses ambush tactics. It retreats when it is injured. Orex nodded slowly. That is correct. Tigers do not retreat. If you hurt a tiger and do not kill it, you have made an enemy that will never stop. It will follow you. It will wait for you. It will find you when you are sleeping, when you think you are safe, when you have forgotten about it. And then it will kill you. A young pallid in the crowd, the one named Bora, raised her hand nervously. But surely your weapons can stop such a creature. Tay laughed softly. We have weapons that can destroy cities. We have weapons that can poison the air and water of an entire region. And still, tigers kill humans every year. Not because we cannot stop them, but because they are smart enough to avoid our defenses. They attack farmers, fishermen, people who live on the edge of the forest. They learn which humans are dangerous and which ones are easy prey. He pressed another button on his device. The tiger disappeared and was replaced by something else. A massive white creature with black eyes and enormous jaws. This is a great white shark. It lives in our oceans. It can smell a single drop of blood from kilometers away. It attacks from below, where you cannot see it coming. There have been sharks that tasted human blood once and then spent years hunting boats, waiting for more. Another image. A long, scaly creature with a flat snout and cold eyes. Saltwater crocodile. It can grow to 7 meters long. It grabs its prey and rolls, tearing them apart. It can wait underwater for hours, completely still, completely patient, until something comes close enough to kill. Another image. A large lizard with rough skin and a forked tongue. Komodo dragon. Its bite is filled with bacteria and venom. If it bites you and you escape, you will still die. Slowly, painfully. The dragon will follow you for days, waiting for you to collapse. The aliens in the hall were no longer whispering. They were frozen. Some of them looked sick. Tay turned off his device and put it back in his pocket. He looked at Commander Orex with calm eyes. These are just a few of the predators on Earth. I have not even mentioned the insects that kill millions of humans every year. Or the bacteria that are so small you cannot see them, but can destroy your body from the inside. Or the parasites that take over your brain and make you do things against your will. Oryx's pale skin had grown even paler. How? How did your species survive such a world? We adapted. We learned. We became the most dangerous thing on our planet. Tay took a step closer to the commander. The creatures you showed me today, the Vraxian Mauler, the Crimson Stalker, the Endless Hunger, they are dangerous. I do not deny that. But they are also rare. They live on specific worlds. You can avoid them. He spread his arms wide. On Earth, danger is everywhere. In the water, in the air, in the ground beneath your feet. We did not have the luxury of avoiding it. We had to face it, fight it, conquer it. The hall was completely silent. Tay's smile returned, gentle and calm. You showed me those creatures to frighten me, Commander. to remind me that humans are small and weak in this great galaxy. He leaned closer, and his voice dropped to almost a whisper. But somehow, everyone in the hall could hear him perfectly. That creature you showed me. The endless hunger. It lives on a quarantined world. Yes? A world that no one visits because it is too dangerous? Orex nodded, unable to speak. Tay tilted his head. Want me to bring one here? The question hung in the air. For a long moment, no one moved. No one breathed. I could probably arrange it, Tay continued, his tone casual, like he was offering to bring snacks to a party. We have teams on Earth that specialize in capturing dangerous animals, relocating them, studying them. If your researchers want to learn about the endless hunger, I am sure we could find a way to bring one here safely. Commander Orex took a step backward. It was the first time anyone had ever seen him retreat from anything. That will not be necessary, he said, his voice barely a whisper. Tay shrugged. The offer stands. Just let me know. He walked back to his seat and sat down, folding his hands in his lap as if nothing had happened. The assembly was over. But the real lesson had just begun. The days after the assembly were strange on Valora 9. Aliens who had once ignored Kangte now watched him with different eyes. They did not look at him with hatred or dismissal anymore. They looked at him with something closer to fear. And perhaps, just a little bit, respect. Tay noticed the change but said nothing about it. He continued his daily routine. He walked through the station, asked questions, helped where he could. He was the same calm, polite human he had always been. But now, everyone knew what was hiding behind that gentle smile. Commander Orex could not stop thinking about what he had seen. The human had not raised his voice. He had not made threats. He had simply told the truth about his world. And that truth was more frightening than any monster in the galaxy. 3 days after the assembly, Orex called Tay to his office. The commander's office was large and filled with symbols of power. Weapons from conquered worlds hung on the walls. Trophies from successful hunts sat on shelves. It was designed to make visitors feel small and weak. Tay walked in and looked around with polite interest. Nice collection, he said. Orex gestured to a chair across from his desk. Sit. Tay sat. He crossed one leg over the other and waited. For a long moment, Orex just stared at him. The commander was trying to understand this creature. This soft, small being from a death world who acted like nothing could hurt him. You said your species conquered the predators of your world, Orex finally said. We did. How? Tay considered the question. Do you want the simple answer or the complete answer? The complete answer. Tay nodded slowly. He reached for his device again. I should warn you, Commander. This will not be pleasant to watch. I have seen many unpleasant things. Not like this. The hologram appeared above Tay's hand. It showed humans. But not the calm, friendly humans Orex had expected. It showed humans at war. The first images were old, ancient by human standards. Men with spears and swords, fighting in formations. Blood and bodies covering the ground. Cities burning in the background. We started fighting each other almost as soon as we learned to walk, Tay explained. Long before we had technology, we had violence. We killed each other over food, over territory, over ideas. Sometimes we killed each other for no reason at all. The images changed. More advanced weapons appeared. Cannons, rifles, machines that could fire hundreds of bullets in seconds. As we grew smarter, our weapons grew deadlier. We did not use our intelligence to stop fighting. We used it to fight better, more efficiently. We turned killing into a science. Orex watched in silence. He had seen violence before. The pallets were not a peaceful species. But this was different. This was organized, systematic, endless. The images changed again. Now they showed massive vehicles rolling across destroyed landscapes, ships carrying soldiers across oceans, aircraft dropping explosives on cities. In just one of our wars, Tay said quietly, over 70 million humans died. 70 million. In about 6 years. We developed weapons that could destroy entire cities in a single flash. We created poisons that could kill thousands with a single breath. We built machines designed for no other purpose than to end human life as quickly as possible. Orex felt something he rarely felt, genuine horror. Why? He asked. Why would you do this to yourselves? Tay turned off the device. He met the commander's 6 eyes with his own too. Because we had to. On Earth, the weak do not survive. This is true for animals, and it is true for humans. The tribes that could not fight were destroyed. The nations that could not defend themselves were conquered. We learned very early that peace is not given. It is earned. It is fought for. It is paid for in blood. He leaned forward slightly. You asked how we conquered our predators. The answer is simple. We became the greatest predators our world had ever seen. We did not just learn to kill the creatures that hunted us. We learned to kill everything, including each other, especially each other. The room was very quiet. But you are so calm, Orex said, his voice barely above a whisper. So polite, so gentle. Tay smiled, because I can afford to be. The most dangerous creatures do not need to prove their strength. A tiger does not roar unless it wants to. A shark does not show its teeth until it is ready to bite. I do not need to threaten you, Commander. I do not need to raise my voice or make demands. You already know what I am, what my species is. That knowledge is enough. He stood up slowly. Humans are not here to conquer the galaxy. We are not here to start wars or collect trophies. He glanced at the weapons on Orex's walls. We have had enough of that. We came to the stars because we wanted something more. Something better. We want friends. We want to explore. We want to see what is out there. He walked toward the door, then stopped and looked back. But never forget what we are. Never forget what we have done to survive. We are the product of 4 billion years of evolution on a world that tried to kill us every single day. We are the children of war, of plague, of famine, of every disaster you can imagine. We did not reach the stars because we were lucky. We reached them because we refused to die. He opened the door. I hope we can be friends, Commander. I truly do. But friendship is a choice, and I hope you make the right one. He walked out, leaving Orex alone with his trophies and his thoughts. For the first time in his long life, Commander Orex understood what it meant to feel small. The weeks that followed changed everything on Velora-9. It started slowly. A few aliens began nodding at Tay when he passed them in the corridors. Then some started saying hello. Then they started asking questions. Not fearful questions or suspicious questions. Real questions. Curious questions. What was Earth really like? How did humans live with so many dangers? Could they really tame the monsters of their world? Tay answered every question with patience and honesty. He told them about his grandmother, Yuna, who lived in a small fishing village on the coast. She was 83 years old and still went out on her boat every morning to catch fish. The waters near her village had sharks. She knew this. Everyone knew this. But she went anyway, because that was what her family had done for generations. He told them about his sister, Hannah. She worked as a veterinarian for wild animals. Her job was to help creatures that could kill her with a single bite or swipe of their claws. She had scars on her arms from a bear she had saved. She did not regret them. She said the scars reminded her that life was precious, even when it was dangerous. He told them about festivals where humans swam with sharks and ran alongside bulls. about parks where families walked among animals that had once hunted their ancestors, about scientists who spent years in jungles, living with creatures that could end their lives at any moment, just to understand them better. The aliens listened with wide eyes. They could not understand this relationship. On their worlds, dangerous creatures were avoided or destroyed. The idea of living alongside them, of choosing to be near them, was madness. But Tay explained that this was who humans were. They did not just conquer their world. They learned to love it. Even the parts that could kill them. Especially the parts that could kill them. One evening, Bora found Tay sitting alone in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. "May I join you?" she asked. Tay smiled and gestured to the seat beside him. "Of course." Bora sat down carefully. She was still nervous around the human, but her curiosity was stronger than her fear. "I have been thinking," she said, "about what you told us, about your world, your history, and what did you conclude?" She was quiet for a moment. "I think I understand now why your species seems so calm. You have already survived the worst. Compared to your home, the galaxy must seem almost peaceful." Tay nodded slowly. "That is part of it, yes. But there is more. Tell me." He looked out at the stars. Millions of lights in the endless darkness. Each one a sun. Each sun with worlds spinning around it. Worlds with their own creatures, their own dangers, their own stories. "When I was young," he said, "I used to be afraid all the time. Afraid of the dark. Afraid of the forest. Afraid of the ocean. My grandfather took me fishing one night, and I was so scared I could not stop shaking. The water was black. I could not see what was beneath us. I kept imagining all the things that could be swimming under our little boat." Bora leaned forward, listening intently. "My grandfather saw how afraid I was. He put his hand on my shoulder and told me something I have never forgotten. He said, 'Fear is natural. Fear keeps us alive. But you cannot let fear control you. The ocean does not care if you are afraid. The forest does not care. The world will keep turning whether you are scared or not. So you have a choice. You can hide from everything that frightens you, or you can face it. You can learn to live with the fear." He turned to look at Bora. "Humans are not brave because we feel no fear. We are brave because we have learned to act despite it. Every time we walk into danger, we are scared. Every time we face a predator, we are terrified. But we do it anyway, because that is the only way to truly live." Bora thought about this for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "Commander Orex has been very quiet lately. He spends hours in his office reviewing data about Earth. I think you have changed him." "I did not mean to change anyone. I only wanted to be understood. You succeeded." Bora hesitated, then added, "He's going to call a meeting of the Galactic Council. He wants to recommend that Earth be welcomed as a full member of the galactic community." Tay blinked in surprise. "That is unexpected." He said that any species that could survive what humans have survived deserves respect, and that he would rather have your kind as friends than enemies. Tay smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine. That is all we ever wanted. Months passed. Tay's mission continued. He traveled to other stations, other worlds, always with the same calm demeanor and gentle smile. Word spread about the human from the death world, the one who had laughed at their monsters and offered to bring them something worse. Some species were curious. Some were afraid. Some tried to test him, to see if the stories were true. They were always true. When a rogue faction threatened Valora 9 with violence, demanding payment in territory, the station sent out a distress call. Many ships responded. But it was the arrival of a single small vessel from Earth that made the difference. The ship carried only 20 humans. They were soldiers, but they did not look like monsters. They looked like Tay, calm, polite, smiling. The faction's leader demanded to speak with them. He wanted to know why such a small force had come to face his fleet. The human captain, a woman named Yoon Soo, answered simply, "We are here to help our friends. That is what humans do." The faction leader laughed. 20 of you against my entire fleet? You are either very brave or very stupid." Sue smiled. The same gentle smile that Tay had. The smile that made enemies very, very nervous. "We are humans," she said. "We are both." The faction retreated without firing a shot. In the years that followed, humanity spread across the galaxy. They built stations and colonies. They made friends with species that had never trusted outsiders before. They helped worlds in danger and asked for nothing in return. The galaxy learned to appreciate them. Their kindness, their patience, their willingness to help. But the galaxy also learned to never, ever threaten them, because behind every gentle smile was a species forged in fire. A species that had looked into the eyes of monsters since the beginning of time. A species that did not know how to give up, did not know how to surrender, did not know how to lose. They were humans, and the stars would remember.